We closed a 130 million naira deal on a three-bedroom flat in Ikoyi, all on WhatsApp and Zoom call. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it went. On the 1st of January 2024, had a client in the United Kingdom reach out to me for the first time ever. I don't know her from Adam. She doesn't know me from Adam, but she saw my content online, saw a property that I listed in Ikoyi, a three-bedroom flat in Osborne, Ikoyi, for sale, and she loved what she saw. She was interested in getting that property for herself, and we started having conversations around that. From our conversation, I got to know that she's not able to come to Nigeria to physically see the property for herself, but she did have a lawyer that she was working with, and she had a cousin in Lagos who could check out the property for her. But before we got into further discussions, I wanted to understand why she was interested in that particular property and what her goal for that property was, because beyond just selling properties, we are also consultants. We are like investment advisors. If you are investing, we want to make sure that you're investing in the best thing that your money can offer that will give you the kind of return or serve the purpose which you want that property for. So I needed to understand this. And when we had the conversation, she opened up that she wanted to get the property so that she could furnish it and then put it up for short lets. So she wanted to put it on the Airbnb platform and other booking platforms to be getting daily rental returns from that apartment. And that makes sense because Ikoyi is one of those eyebrow neighborhoods where there's high demand for short stay homes. A lot of Nigerians traveling or even influencers and young professionals, when they need a getaway experience, they usually book apartments in Ikoyi, Lekki, and VI. So it was a good location. The apartment made sense. A three-bedroom apartment is not too much, and she would definitely get a lot of requests for rentals. At that point, it had passed the check of, is this going to fit for what she actually needs it for? What was next was to discuss the details of her actually acquiring that property, and that involves due diligence, of course. On our end, we reached out to the lawyer of the sellers to get documents so that we can send across to our own lawyers for verification. The whole legal checks and verification part took about a week, but then we now hit a roadblock because my client wanted a huge discount. She wanted the seller to let go of 20 million naira from the selling price so she could get the property for 130 million naira instead of 150 million naira, which was the original listing price that the seller had put on the property. This negotiation was not easy because the seller was already fixed on that price. He even felt like he was selling at an already low price at the time compared to what other apartments in Ikoyi of that caliber were selling for. So it took a lot of convincing, speaking with him, saying the clients, how serious the client was, and a lot of negotiation tactics. You get the drill. Before we were finally able to get them to agree to our price. And when we got the negotiation out of the way and we confirmed that the documents and everything on the property was clean and good to go, we set up the Zoom call. So this Zoom call was an introduction between the seller and the buyer so they could get accustomed, ask each other questions, because that selling real estate is more than just properties. It's also about humans. There are humans behind these transactions. On the Zoom call, both parties agreed that they were ready to deal and transact with each other. And all that was left was to select a date for the closing, the handshake, where the property can be paid for and the title can be handed and transferred to the buyer, which is my client. But that sometimes in business, you always have some unexpected circumstances. The closing date was fast approaching and the seller had to travel. So he wasn't going to be around to do the handover of the documents as we had already pre-agreed. It was a lot of following up back to back, trying to get them to commit to a particular date so that we can make the payments and get the property documents handed over on the spot. We had to liaise with the lawyers of the seller to try to speak with his client to hasten the process so that we can close on this deal and not let it drag. Because the longer it takes, she's not physically in Nigeria. It almost seems as if there was something else going on, like the seller wanted to sell to somebody else or he was going back on the agreement that had already been reached. But eventually, thankfully, the lawyer intervened and the seller gave authority to the lawyer to represent him and hand over on his behalf. And that was how we were able to close that deal. And my clients got our apartments for 130 million naira instead of 150 million naira. And I'm happy to tell you that today that property is worth well over 400 million naira. I would even attach a picture of a property in the same complex selling right now for you to see the comparison between January 2024 and today, July 2026. That is the power of real estate. When you invest in the right location, in a place that has high demand, what happens is you experience high value appreciation on your property and high return on investment as an investor. My client is still refusing to sell that property. She's holding on to it and she's enjoying her return on investment. And I know that by the time she's ready to let it go, she'll be selling it for a fortune. I'm making this video to kind of run you through the process where a diaspora Nigerian was able to own property, valuable property, verified property in Nigeria very seamlessly just through WhatsApp messages and Zoom calls. So if you're a Nigerian in diaspora and you're thinking about buying property back in Lagos or Abuja, I want to introduce myself. My name is Mariam Kolola Shuaib. I'm the lead broker and founder at Ariel Realty, and we're a brokerage firm that has done business in Nigeria for over 6 years now. We've done transactions worth well over 5 billion naira. And we have a lot of Nigerians in diaspora who are active clients. So we're inviting you to join our long list of satisfied customers and clients and invest with us today. So reach out through the numbers showing on your screen and let's get talking.